Well, well, well. You want to be a YouTuber, huh? And you come to me for help. Well, guess what? It's too late, Chief. The ship has sailed. The ship has crashed. Today I'll be showing you exactly how I make my videos from start to finish. Pretty much just step by step. I won't be going into full detail with each step, but you'll get a good idea of how I do it and what I use to do it. I'll be showing you all of the hardware, all of the software, literally everything. So the first and most important thing you will need to start making videos and putting them online is something to put the videos onto a computer. I'll talk in a minute about how your phone is actually a good alternative for this if you don't have a high-end computer. But if you do have a computer or a laptop, great. You're most of the way there. Personally, I saved up a while back and invested quite a bit of money into my computer so that I can use Premiere Pro without it shitting its pants on me every 5 seconds. But if your video editing software isn't that intensive, then you definitely don't need anything that expensive. One of the main things you want to look at when you go looking for computers to do your video editing on is that it has a good graphics card and it has a good amount of RAM. Usually you want at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. That just helps with the video buffering and the editing so it's not all choppy when you're trying to put it together. Now the microphone, as you'll notice, my audio is nice and crisp. This is a combination of two things, an external microphone and software for editing the audio. So I record the video from the camera and the audio on separate devices. And the microphone I use is the Rode mic with its own little pop filter. It actually cost me about $200. But let me be real with you guys, if you are recording the audio separately, which I would recommend doing, and you're putting it through a piece of audio editing software, which I would also recommend doing, it just really doesn't fucking matter that much. If you have a computer, literally all you need is a USB condenser microphone, and they can come really damn cheap for a decent one. Because yeah, I've got this like fancy one here, and it has its little knobs and dials on it, but to be completely honest, it sounds almost identical to the audio when I was using my silver like $50 condenser microphone with its shitty little $25 pop filter. Because while you do need a decent microphone, decent microphones come really cheap. What's important is the software. But I'll get to that in a minute. If you record your videos on your phone, obviously you're a bit limited, and I know a lot of DSLR cameras have the microphone you can attach to the top. Personally, I would still prefer to do it externally to the camera so that I have the option to put it straight into my audio editing software without having to splice it, and it's just more effort than it's worth. Or if you really have the money to spare, you could go the full mile and get yourself an audio interface, which is probably the easiest, most convenient way of getting the audio sounding as good as it needs to be, but really it's just not necessary again. In order of importance with a video to make it watchable, I think audio is probably the most important thing, even above video quality, and I stand by that. Really bad audio, no matter how good the quality of the video is, can just make it unwatchable. So then we go on to the camera, and that's something I've struggled with quite a lot. Now, for pretty much the majority of my channel, I used the Sony NEX5R, and it was pretty much a perfect camera for what I wanted, which was I wanted me to be in focus and I wanted the background to be blurry, and that's a hard effect for a lot of cameras to get. It's also a really difficult thing to look up when you're looking up cameras. But anyway, those ones did it pretty well because you could actually adjust the focal length. But do not get a Sony NEX. I highly recommend against it because I had 3 and they have a big issue with overheating. I could literally only film for 20 to 30 minutes tops, and then I would have to leave it or even put it in the fridge for a little while just so I could finish my filming for the day. It was just an absolute nightmare. From there I moved on to the camera I have now, which has been just absolutely perfect, but obviously it's quite a bit more expensive because now I'm using the Canon EOS M50. Cost me about $700 Australian. And it's just great. It's got 60 frames per second, it's, high def, really good with blurring the background, and if I wanted it even more blurry in the background, I could just switch to another lens. If you have the disposable income, or if you're able to save up and you're passionate enough about having good quality YouTube videos, I highly recommend the Canon M50. I did a lot of research, and I think this really is the best cheap camera you can get. But then you also have the option, and I'm sure it's something you've heard a million times, it's mentioned in every video where people talk about their setups because it's entirely true, is you can use your smartphone. A lot of people on YouTube do this, and it's fine because phones are fucking crazy now, apparently. They just do as well as like DSLRs. I'm not sure how they go for the blurry background effect I was talking about, but you could use that in collaboration with a cheap USB condenser microphone and probably get just as good quality. So ironically, as important as a camera is for making videos, almost everyone already has a perfect camera already, their smartphone. And hey, if you don't have either, you can always use a good old-fashioned potato. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you check in on the next video, and I will see you next time. Catch ya. Now, on the topic of software, I want to talk about the audio software first because it's so useful and it's free. Get yourself a $50 to $100 condenser microphone, plug it into the USB slot of your computer, download Audacity. It's free, it's fine, start recording, and you're going to have pretty much perfect audio just like that. So obviously you need to do a few little things after you've finished recording your audio to make it sound as good as it can be. So this isn't an Audacity video, so I can't go into too much detail, but I'm going to dot point it for you. This is what I do. I record my audio and I make sure to leave a bit of dead air at the start. That way when I'm finished recording, I can grab the dead air, the room sound as it is, then you silence it. I use compressor on the rest. Then I use bass boost. Then treble boost. Silence the dead air section once more. Export it. Done. That is literally all I do to get audio like this. This is what crisp audio sounds like. Now, as for the video editing program, this is where it gets a bit more pricey. So obviously I like a lot of wacky effects. Whoa. So I use Premiere Pro, but that is a bit pricey. It's like $70 a month, although you do get Photoshop and like every other Adobe app with it as well. But for the most part, especially for BookTube and AuthorTube, people's editing is pretty minimal, which is fine. That's just the aesthetic of BookTube and AuthorTube. So in those cases, I would actually advise against getting Premiere because it just seems like a complete waste of money if you're not going to be doing a whole lot of absurd editing. If I was to give a recommendation, I would say the free version of Filmora will do you absolutely fine. I used that for like well over a year, and I could still do a little bit of wacky editing, but it was just fine. Otherwise, people have told me as well that the video editing programs you get on either your Windows or your Mac, as a default, they work fine as well. Because for most people, all you're actually going to be doing in the video editing stage is cutting out awkward silences. That's it. But if you want to know what I do when I edit my videos, here it is. Here's the steps, the dot points. First, I import it. I go through once and cut out all of the awkward silences. Then I go through once more and I do the edits, all of the effects, visual and sound effects, etc. Then I might watch it one more time just to make sure everything's good, and then I export it. And there you go. You've got a finished YouTube video. So now you know all this, you too could be a subpar YouTuber with crippling loneliness feeding off of any crumb of attention that you can get your grubby little hands on while you rant and rave into the void. Super cool! In all seriousness, guys, making YouTube videos is really easy. But if you want to get serious with it, it can be quite time consuming. So while you don't really need a lot of money to make a decent and high quality YouTube video, the more money you spend, the more convenience you're purchasing, I guess, the easier it'll get. But it's by no means necessary. If you were to have basically the cheapest setup, I would say just get your smartphone for the video, a condenser mic for the audio, and just plug it into your laptop with Audacity. Then download a free video editing software and you're good to go. Hope you guys liked this video. I know it was a bit different. I just kind of felt like showing you what I got here. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Catch ya.
She's got class and style, street knowledge by the pound, yeah. Baby never act wild, very low key on the profile. Catching feelings isn't all. Let me show you how it goes. Love's the word, spins the